The new wife's shocking request. Commander Jace had seen many strange things in his life. He had fought in 3 space wars, survived on dead planets, and negotiated peace with species who didn't even speak in words. But nothing had prepared him for marriage, especially not to a Zalari woman. Zalari were not like humans. They were logical, cold, and extremely serious. They didn't joke, didn't flirt, and definitely didn't believe in love the way humans did. But somehow, Irina was different. She was calm, yes, but also kind. Jace respected her strength, and she respected his instincts. Their bond was not romantic in a human way, but it worked. It made sense. After the wedding, they spent a few quiet days together on Earth's moon base. Jace thought things were going well, maybe even peaceful. Then one evening, Irina looked at him across the dinner table and said something that made him pause. "I have a request," she said calmly. Jace leaned back, chewing the last bite of his food. "Go ahead. I want you to train my younger sister," she said. Jace almost laughed, but stopped when he saw Irina's face. She wasn't joking. "Train her? Train her how?" he asked. "To deal with males," she said, as if it was the most normal thing in the world. Jace raised an eyebrow. "You want me to teach your sister dating advice?" "Not dating," Irina said. "Survival, understanding, response, defense, control, emotional strategy." Jace blinked, confused. "Wait, what's this really about?" Irina stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. "She is too emotional," she said. "The council says she must be corrected or removed." "Removed?" Jace repeated, feeling a chill in his chest. "She doesn't follow protocols," Irina continued. "She talks to humans, asks questions, makes faces, laughs, even touches people without reason. She sounds alive," Jace said quietly. Irina turned to him, her expression unreadable. "I believe you can help her learn control," she said, "like you helped me." Jace wasn't sure how to feel. This wasn't a small request. He was a soldier, not a therapist, but something in Irina's voice made him say yes. He didn't know what to expect. He imagined a younger version of Irina, cold, quiet, serious. He was wrong. The next day, there was a knock on their door. Irina opened it, and a young woman stepped in. She had the same silver-blue skin and black eyes as Irina, but that's where the similarities ended. Her smile was quick and bright, her eyes wide with curiosity. She walked straight up to Jace and held out her hand. "You must be the male I'm supposed to learn from," she said cheerfully. "I'm Scylla." Jace shook her hand slowly. "And you must be the sister." "That's me," she said. "This is going to be fun." Jace looked at Irina, who just nodded and said, "She is yours to train." The next few days were strange. Scylla asked questions nonstop. Why do humans laugh when they're nervous? Why do men pretend to be strong when they're sad? Why do human males talk more when they're lying? Jace tried to keep the lessons serious. Posture, tone, eye contact, reading body language. But Scylla kept turning the lessons into games. She would mimic his voice, act out scenes, and sometimes get too close just to see what he would do. "Lesson 5, she said one day, leaning across the table. "How does a human male react when a female touches his hand for no reason?" Jace pulled his hand back and frowned. "He gets suspicious." She giggled, noted. At night, Jace spoke with Irina. "She's not just curious," he said. "She's testing limits." "She must learn them," Irina replied, "before someone else teaches her the hard way." "But why me?" Jace asked. "Why not a Zalari instructor?" Irina looked at him, her eyes calm. "Because humans feel more," she said, "and she listens to those who feel." Jace didn't know what worried him more, Scylla's curiosity or how quickly he was starting to care about her progress. He started noticing details, like how Scylla's smile faded when she thought no one was watching, or how she flinched when Irina spoke sharply, even without emotion. Something deeper was going on here, and he had a feeling he was only seeing the surface. Then one night, as he passed by the training room, he heard a whisper. Scylla was talking in a strange language. Not human, not Zalari, something else. He stood quietly, listening. She was speaking into a small comms device, hidden under a bed. I'm learning fast, she said. He's stronger than expected, but also softer. A pause, then. Yes. I'll keep going now. He doesn't suspect yet. Jay stepped back into the shadows, heart beating faster. He didn't know who she was talking to. But one thing was now very clear. This wasn't just about training. It was about something much bigger. And he was right in the middle of it. Scylla was not sleeping. She lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling, eyes wide open. Her fingers moved slowly, tracing invisible patterns on her wrist, patterns Jace didn't recognize. They weren't human, and they weren't Zalari. They were something else. In the next room, Jace sat at his desk, watching a recording. It was security footage from the hallway. The night he heard her whispering, he zoomed in, enhanced the audio, and replayed her words. He's stronger than expected, she had said, but also softer. Softer. That word stuck in his head like a nail. The next morning, Scylla was cheerful as always. Ready for today's lesson? She asked, already standing in the training room. She wore human clothes now, a fitted black shirt and cargo pants, but still moved like a Zalari, sharp and smooth. Jace kept his tone firm. Lesson 11, Emotional Defense. How to spot manipulation. Scylla grinned. Perfect, she said. I've been practicing. The training started slow. Jace asked questions, and Scylla answered with calculated honesty. But then she flipped the roles. My turn, she said, walking in slow circles around him. Why did you marry my sister? She asked. Jace crossed his arms. Irrelevant. Everything is relevant, she replied, stopping in front of him. Did you love her? Yes, Jace said. Do you still? She asked, leaning closer. Yes, he repeated, but his voice was quieter. Scylla stepped back, smiling again, lesson complete. That night, Jace confronted Arena. She's not just learning, he said. She's testing me. Arena didn't look surprised. She is curious, she said. You are the only human male she's ever spent time with. Yeah, but she's not just asking questions, Jace said. She's watching me like a scientist watches an experiment. Arena's face was calm, but her voice was sharp. She needs to understand humans deeply because the council fears you. Jace frowned. I thought this was about her emotions being a weakness. It is, Arena said, but it's also about preparing her for what comes next. What does that mean? Jace asked. Arena didn't answer. She simply walked away. The next day, Jace found Scylla in the common room, reading a human psychology book upside down. When he pointed it out, she laughed and said, Does it really matter which way we learn the inside of a mind? Depend what you plan to do with it, he replied. Scylla looked at him, serious now. I plan to survive, she said, in a galaxy full of liars, charmers, and leaders who smile as they give death orders. Jace was silent. You think I'm dangerous, she said, don't you? Jace didn't answer. That night, Jace received a message. It came from an old war contact, someone who now worked in intelligence. The message was short and encrypted. Subject SYLA, Zalari, is on soft target watch list. Profile: high emotional mimicry, suspected covert training, psychological threat level 7. Advised: monitor closely, avoid emotional entanglement. Jace stared at the screen, then deleted the message. He didn't know what to believe anymore. Was Scylla just a curious student, or a living weapon in disguise? The next morning, she surprised him again. Today, I want to try role play, she said. I'll act like a human girl, and you pretend to be a hostile male. Jace frowned. That's not a game. It's training, she said. I need to know how to respond, right? He agreed, reluctantly. The scene began. Scylla changed her posture, shoulders low, voice softer, a little nervous. She walked toward him slowly, as if she were approaching someone stronger than her. Then she looked up and said, Please don't hurt me. It was too real. Jace froze, feeling a wave of guilt and anger, even though it was just pretend. Scylla looked up, reading his face, and smiled slightly. Interesting. She stepped away, satisfied. Jace stared at her, heart pounding. She hadn't just acted like a scared human girl. She had become one. For those few seconds, she wasn't Scylla the alien. She was a reflection of every woman Jace had ever seen suffer in war zones and abandoned planets. Too perfect to be an accident. That night, Irina spoke quietly as they stood near the window. She learns fast, she said. Jace nodded. Too fast. She's dangerous, he said. Irina didn't respond for a long time. Then she said something Jace didn't expect. She's not the only one. Before he could ask what she meant, the lights in the hallway flickered. An alert appeared on the screen. Unauthorized signal detected near personal quarters. Jace grabbed his weapon and ran toward the hallway. But by the time he got there, Scylla was gone. On her bed was a single note, written in perfect human English. I need answers you can't give me. Don't follow me, unless you're ready to see who I really am. There was a humming sound in the walls. Low, mechanical, and almost alive. It had never been there before. Jace stood alone in Scylla's empty room, staring at the message she left behind. Don't follow me, unless you're ready to see who I really am. The words were handwritten, with a style too human for a Zalari. That detail bothered him more than the message itself. He looked under her bed again, this time with gloves and a scanner. He found what he feared, a hidden transmitter, long-range, dual-frequency. Not Zalari tech, not Earth tech. It was something hybrid. He picked it up carefully. What the hell are you, Scylla? He whispered. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, not from power failure, but from signal interference. Someone was still watching, still listening. Jace left the room and locked it behind him. Later that day, Irina acted as if nothing had happened. She sat at the table, reading council reports and sipping nutrient broth. You knew she was going to run, Jace said, standing across from her. I suspected, Irina replied, not looking up. Why didn't you stop her? He asked. She needed space to decide who she is. Irina said, we all do. Jace shook his head. She's not just deciding, she's preparing. For what? Irina asked. I think she's trying to become something new. Jace said, something neither human nor Zalari. Irina's eyes narrowed, but she said nothing. That evening, Jace reviewed old footage from the training sessions. He watched Scylla mimic human emotions perfectly. Fear, joy, embarrassment, anger, curiosity, love. Not just acting, but living them for seconds at a time. It was like watching someone build a human soul from the outside in. Then something hit him. He pulled up a freeze frame from one session. Scylla's eye reflected a screen behind Jace. In that reflection was a strange shape, not in the room at the time. It looked like a small drone, invisible to normal eyes. She wasn't just learning, Jace whispered. She was being recorded. The next day, he tracked Scylla's signal to the edge of the lunar zone, a no-contact area between Earth and Zalari borders. It was dark, silent, and cold. He entered the abandoned outpost alone, weapon ready. Inside, he found something unexpected. Music, soft human music, playing from an old Earth radio. Jazz. Scylla was sitting on a chair, looking at a small screen. She didn't turn around when he walked in. You followed, she said. I had to, Jace replied. You're on every watch list now. I know, Scylla said calmly. You're in danger, he said, stepping closer. She turned and looked at him, her eyes softer than before. I've always been in danger, she said. That's what happens when you feel too much in a species that fears emotion. Jace sat down across from her. Tell me what this is really about. I'm building something, she said, a new language. He frowned. What? Not with words, she said. With behavior, with connection, with feelings. She leaned forward. Zalari women were never meant to feel like humans, but I do. Because of me? Jace asked. Partly, she said, but also because I want to. I used to think emotions made us weak, she continued, but watching humans I saw something else. They cry and still fight. They break and still rebuild. They lose people and still love again. I want that, she said. Jace felt his guard lowering, but then he remembered the hidden drone. And the recordings? The transmitter, he asked. Scylla looked guilty, but not surprised. The council forced me, she said. They wanted data. You gave it to them? Jace asked, voice rising. I filtered it, Scylla said. I only sent what I wanted them to see. Jay stood up, pacing the room. This is bigger than just feelings, Scylla, he said. This is psychological warfare. I know, she said, but I don't care. Suddenly, the outpost lights went red. An alert flashed on the wall. Incoming vessel, Zalari High Council Unit. Arena's name was on the manifest. They're coming for me, Silas said calmly. Or maybe for you. Before Jace could respond, Scylla handed him a small chip. This is the real data, she said. Everything I learned, and everything they're afraid of. You have a choice now, she said. Use it against them, or help me finish what I started. The ship landed outside. Footsteps echoed through the metal halls. Jace stood still, holding the chip. Scylla looked up at him one last time, her voice low. If they ask, tell them I ran. She walked to the back door and vanished into the shadows. The hatch opened behind him, and Arena stepped in, her expression unreadable. Jace didn't say a word. Not yet. Jace didn't dream that night. He just remembered a cold room, a burning sky, the face of a young recruit who didn't come home, or had taken so much from him. Now, peace was asking for even more. When he opened his eyes, Arena was standing at the window. She hadn't said a word since arriving. She hadn't asked about Scylla either. That silence said everything. What does the council really want from her? Jace asked, voice rough from sleep. Arena didn't turn around. They want what all rulers want, she said, control. Jace stood, walked to the table, and slid the data chip Scylla gave him across the surface. Then this is going to ruin their day, he said. Arena finally turned to face him, her face still unreadable. You kept it, she said. You're surprised? He replied. I thought you'd destroy it, she said, for peace. There is no peace without truth, Jace said. You taught me that. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then Arena walked over and picked up the chip, holding it between her fingers like a weapon. Scylla is a threat to more than just the council, she said. She's a threat to our entire species. She's also proof we can change, Jace said. Grow, evolve. Emotion is not evolution. Arena said, her voice harder now. It is instability. No, Jace said. It's power. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. She understands us better than we understand her. And that scares you. Arena looked down, then nodded. Yes, she said quietly, it does. Later that day, they boarded a small shuttle bound for a deep space diplomatic station. Officially, they were going to deliver a peace report. In reality, they were carrying the only copy of Scylla's emotional learning archive, a threat to both the Earth Alliance and the Zalari High Council. Inside the shuttle, Jace activated the chip for the first time. A hologram appeared. Not data, not charts, but scenes, video recordings of her sessions, emotional logs, mimic tests, psychological overlays. And at the end, something unexpected, a voice file, Scylla's voice, speaking directly to whoever found it. If you're watching this, then I've either failed or escaped, she said. But either way, I'm done hiding. I was told feelings made me weak, her voice continued. But I've learned they can also make you dangerous. And maybe that's what scares them most. Jace closed the file, silent. The room felt heavier now. We can't give this to the council, he said. They'll bury it. They might bury us with it, Arena replied. Then we go public, Jace said. Expose the project, force both sides to face what she's become. And what are you hoping to prove? Arena asked. That humanity is better? No, Jace said. That humanity is contagious. They landed at the station, where council envoys were already waiting. Cold smiles, formal greetings, stiff handshakes. The kind of peace that smelled like fear. Inside the meeting room, Jace stepped forward and placed a chip on the table. This is data from a cross-species emotional training experiment, he said, loud and clear. It shows a Zalari subject adapting human emotional range. The council members exchanged sharp glances. One of them, an older Zalari male with a deep scar across his neck, leaned forward. Where is the subject now? He asked. Gone, Jace said by choice. And what do you want us to do with this? Another asked. Celebrate it? Fear it? Face it, Jace said, because she's not the only one who can feel. The lead envoy leaned back, tapping his fingers on the table. You realize this makes you a threat to both governments, he said. I've been called worse, Jace replied. Outside the meeting room, Irina spoke quietly as they walked. You just started a war of emotions, she said. No, Jace said. I just ended the silence. As they returned to their ship, a private transmission lit up Jace's screen. It was a scrambled signal, familiar pattern, strange routing. He opened it. Sila's face appeared, dirty, tired, but alive. You made your move, she said with a soft smile. Good. Then her expression changed. Now it's my turn, she said. The screen went black. The air inside the ship felt too still, like the calm before a silent storm. Jace sat alone in the dark cockpit. No lights, no noise, just the soft blink of warning signals on the dash. Enemy or ally? He didn't know anymore. Both sides had gone quiet after the council meeting. Too quiet. Behind him, Irina stood near the doorway, her voice low. We're in the middle now, she said. No home to go back to. Jace didn't turn around. I never really had one, he replied. A soft ping echoed through the ship. A message incoming. Not from Earth, not from the council. It was marked unofficial. He tapped it open. A blurred human face appeared on screen, voice masked with static. You pushed too far, the voice said. Earth Command can't protect you. Return the subject or be classified hostile. The screen blinked off. Jace leaned back, laughing bitterly. So now I'm the threat. Irina's eyes narrowed. They want Sila back, she said, dead or alive. No, Jace said. They want the idea of her erased. He opened the storage panel and pulled out the data chip again. Sila's words echoed in his mind. Feelings can make you dangerous. He remembered her last transmission, the look in her eyes. Not just rebellion, but purpose. She wasn't running. She was planning. I need to find her, he said, standing up. Irina stepped in front of him. And do what? She asked. Protect her? Stop her. I don't know, Jace admitted, but I need answers. Outside, stars slid past like cold lights in an endless tunnel. He sent out a trace, not to find Sila, but to find her last signal bounce. It came from a rogue planet, drifting between systems, uncharted and dark, a place perfect for someone becoming something new. They landed near a cracked research station, half buried, half powered. Inside, the halls were covered in drawings, thousands of symbols written by hand, glowing faintly. What language is this? Jace whispered. Irina scanned one of the walls. It's part Zalari, part earth coding, part something else, she said. In the center room, they found a chair and a screen. A recording began as soon as they entered. Sila appeared calm, sharp, different. She was wearing a suit that blended Zalari body armor with human tactical gear. Her voice was steady. I built this place, she said, because I needed to be somewhere that belonged to neither of you. This is where I became me. She looked directly into the camera, eyes fierce. You trained me, Jace, she said. You helped me understand what it means to feel, to hesitate, to care. She turned slightly, looking past the lens. And you, Irina, you showed me how dangerous that choice would be. But I made it anyway. The screen faded, and another door unlocked at the far end of the station. Inside, they found something unexpected. People. Not Zalari, not humans, but blended. Hybrids. 6 individuals stood in silence, watching them, all wearing gear similar to Silas. None spoke. Then one stepped forward and handed Jace a device. A message played. Sila's voice again. They're ready, she said. I trained them myself. Not to fight with weapons, but with influence. Every empire depends on fear. But what happens when fear stops working? The message ended, and the hybrids turned to walk away, vanishing down different tunnels like ghosts. Irina spoke first, her voice shaking slightly. She's building an army. No, Jace said. She's building a movement. They returned to the ship, but the silence didn't last long. New messages flooded the console, some from Earth, others from unknown channels. Rumors of civil unrest. Zalari agents abandoning their posts. Human diplomats defecting, claiming they'd been emotionally compromised. Jace stared at the screen. It had begun. She's doing it without blood, he whispered, without war. She's doing it with understanding. A final message came through from Scylla directly. No mask, no filter. I offered them change, she said. They chose fear, so now I'll offer it to everyone. The screen cut to black, replaced by a single word in bright white letters. Feel. Arena turned to Jace. You said humanity was contagious, she said. You were right. Jace looked out the window. 100 stars, 1,000 eyes, watching from the dark. It didn't begin with a battle. It began with silence. Across 6 systems, the same thing happened at the same time. Leaders prepared to give speeches, transmit orders, review border control, but their words never arrived. Instead, the messages were interrupted by a single voice, calm and steady. Scylla, this is not war, she said. This is a reminder. You built your worlds on fear, but fear no longer works. Jace saw the broadcast from the ship, Arena beside him, both frozen. It wasn't just one speech. It was tailored, rewritten for each world, each culture. Some spoke of freedom, others of connection, some of pain, others of love. The message was clear in every tongue. Feel or fall behind. She hijacked half the core channels. Arena said, stunned, that's impossible. No, Jace whispered, that's human. Because humans weren't built for control. They were built to adapt, to bend, to break, and to rise again. On a frozen outpost near the edge of Earth's influence, a Zalari captain refused to detain a hybrid operative. He simply said, I don't fear her, I understand her. On Earth, a diplomat wept during a press conference. I used to think emotions made us weak, he said. Now I think maybe they're the only thing that makes us real. Back on the ship, Jace reviewed every signal spike, every broadcast trace. Scylla had planned this for months, maybe years. Every lesson, every test, every moment with him was part of the blueprint. Arena stepped forward, eyes dark. She's weaponized compassion, she said. She's turned empathy into infiltration. She's showing people they have choices, Jace replied, and that terrifies both sides. A new message arrived from Earth High Command. Short, cold, final. You are to bring her in immediately, or you'll be declared rogue. A second message followed, this one from the Zalari High Council. We are deploying neutralizers to shut down unauthorized emotional warfare. Neutralizers. Jace had seen them in action. They didn't ask questions. They erased problems. He slammed his fist against the console. She was trying to give them something better, he said, and they want to kill it. Arena stared out the viewport. It's always been like this, she said. Change comes, and the old world tries to crush it. Not this time, Jace said. He turned on the NAV systems and locked on Scylla's last known signal. It was in a dense asteroid field near an abandoned research sphere, deep black zone, off limits, perfect hiding place. Don't do this, Arena said. If you go to her now, you're not a soldier anymore. I was never just a soldier, Jace said. That's what Scylla showed me. He entered the jump coordinates and activated the thrusters. Seconds later, they were gone. When they arrived, the field was quiet, but not empty. Sensors picked up multiple heat signatures, all moving in synchronized patterns. They're not defense drones, Arena said, watching the feed. They're people. Then Scylla's voice came over the comms. I knew you'd come, she said. Jace responded immediately. You've made your move, he said, but the system is pushing back hard. I expected that, Scylla replied, but I didn't start this to win. I started this to change the rules. She appeared on screen, suited up, eyes sharp but calm. Not hiding, not apologizing. Tell me why I shouldn't hand you over, Jace asked, testing her. Because I'm not asking anyone to follow me, she said. I'm showing them what they already feel, but were told to ignore. And you, Jace, She added, voice softer. You already crossed the line. You just haven't admitted it yet. He paused, staring at her through the screen. She was right. He couldn't go back. Not to orders, not to silence, not to control masked as peace. Before he could respond, Irina pointed at the radar. Neutralizers incoming, she said, fast, heavy, no questions. Sila nodded on the screen. Then it's time, she said. Time to show them what one fully awakened human can do. The asteroid base shifted, walls pulling back, energy fields forming around the hybrids. They weren't attacking. They were broadcasting, amplifying an emotional signal so strong it shook the comms. Jace fell to his knees, not from pain, from memory. He saw every loss, every regret, every joy, every connection. A wave of human truth crashing through artificial order. The neutralizer ships began to spin off course. Some stopped completely, pilots overwhelmed by their own unlocked feelings. One ship turned around. They're breaking, Irina whispered. They can't process it. Silas stood at the center of it all. Not with guns, not with commands, but with feeling, and they couldn't stop it. The galaxy didn't end, but it no longer made sense the way it used to. In the days after the signal wave, governments shut down communication grids. Councils met in secret. Officers resigned without explanation. And across 10 worlds, people began to feel things they had never dared to feel before. Some cried without knowing why. Some quit their jobs. Some hugged strangers in the street. Some burned their uniforms. They didn't call it a war. They called it a glitch, a phase, a data breach. But everyone knew something had changed. Sila had vanished after the blast. No one knew where she went. No one could trace her signal. And yet her message still spread. Quietly, like a forgotten song people suddenly remembered how to hum. Jay stood on a rooftop in New Terran City, looking out at a sky filled with broken satellites and drifting drones. The war hadn't destroyed them. Truth had. He wore no uniform now. He hadn't spoken to Earth Command in weeks. He didn't plan to. Behind him, Irina stepped into the light, wearing civilian clothes. She had taken her Council Idaho and dropped it into the ocean days ago. No speeches, no ceremony, just silence. She won, Irina said softly. No, Jace replied, she proved. They walked together down a corridor lined with digital screens. All dark, all disconnected from the old systems. But people had started writing messages on the walls, not in code, but in feeling. I forgive you. Emise here. I want to change. Jay stopped in front of one that simply said, feel loud. She broke something in us, Irina said, and now we have to decide what to build in its place. He nodded. She gave them permission to be human, he said, even the ones who weren't. In the weeks that followed, strange things began to happen. A Zalari general defected and began teaching poetry in a human school. A human AI designer released an open-source code for emotional learning, labeled the Sila Protocol. A small hybrid colony appeared on the edge of neutral space, unmarked, unsupervised, and peaceful. No flags, no leaders, no orders. Just people, real, feeling people. And then one day, Jace received a message. It wasn't from Earth or the Council. It wasn't even from Sila directly. It came from a child, a hybrid girl with silver blue skin and green human eyes, sitting in a quiet room. Hi, she said shyly. My name is Nira. My teacher says I have feelings that don't belong to any one species. She said that's okay. She said a man named Jace helped her understand that. Jace felt the weight of those words in his chest. Not heavy like guilt, but solid like gravity. He closed the message without speaking. That night, Irina found him staring out at the stars again. She asked, "Do you regret training her?" He answered slowly. "No," he said, "because I wasn't just training her. I was untraining myself." They stood in silence, and for once, there was no mission, no broadcast, no alarm. Just the feeling that something old had died, and something honest had been born in its place. Then a new signal lit up on the far channel. Unmarked, unauthorized, alive. A simple audio feed, garbled but clear enough. Sila's voice. "I'm still here," she said. "I've just gone deeper. There are more who want to learn. Not to obey, not to rule, just to feel without fear. I'll be waiting," she said, "for those ready to begin." The message ended, but the stars outside seemed brighter than before. Jace looked up and whispered under his breath, "We're not fighting a war anymore. We're feeling one."